So this is our first Pilates section, and this is Pilates and stretch really, and it's a really good section to do with your baby. So we've got Gracie and George here. How's George doing?
He's doing well. He's calm, aren't you?
Oh, very good. So perfect moment to do some exercises when your baby's nice and calm. So the first thing we're going to do is go into an on all fours position. So if you want to join us doing that as well. This is also what we call a functional movement to use with a baby, because often you'll find yourself in this position. So Alison, if you'd like to get yourself onto your hands and knees, it's really quite a good idea to change your baby on the floor like this, and it's important to make sure that you're holding your back in the right position. So Alison's doing that for me now. She's holding her back in that lovely neutral position, small little curve in her lower back, tail slightly lifted. I'm also going to ask Alison to draw her shoulder blades back and down, so I want you to do the same thing. And actually, if you've got your baby in this position, it's perfect because you're looking down at their eye level, and that's also bringing Alison's neck into the right position. So make sure you're not looking down between your arms or looking up as well. Obviously, you might be looking up at your TV screen right now, but try to put your head back down when you can. We're now going to just do a lovely stretch for the back. So all I'm going to ask you to do, and I'd like Alison to do it as well, is just to lift your belly and just stretch up like a cat. You can now drop your chin down towards your chest, lifting up through, pulling your tummy muscles back towards your spine, hold that position and then release back again. It's really good to use breathing when you do this. So take a nice big deep breath in as you exhale, lift up and stretch through the back. And we get a lot of tension in this area of the back, so it's a quite nice thing to do. Okay? And then release back again. And you can talk to your baby while you're doing this. Yeah? And then lift up and go into your cat stretch one more time. Okay, and release. Now we're going to go on to our next exercise. I'm going to ask Alison to hold this position, and this is the cat kneading exercise that you may have seen before because you would have done it in your antenatal exercise, but with a slight different emphasis now because your baby is in front of you rather than in your tummy. And what we're going to do now is again focus on the core muscles. So remember, pull up through that pelvic floor, lift your belly back towards your spine, keep the spine nice and long, hold that position. Now imagine you've got a glass of water balancing on your back, you don't want it to move, and you're going to nice and slowly lift one hand and then the other hand off the floor. Now as you're doing this, make sure that your back stays nice and still. Keep reminding yourself of your core muscles. I want you to try and do about 10 lifts on each side. If you get tired, just relax, release and sit back onto your heels. How are you doing, Alison? Are you okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
How's George doing?
Fine, aren't you? Yes.
Good. I think Grace is nearly about to fall asleep, so she's all right. Okay, keep drawing the shoulder blades back and down. Keep pulling your tummy muscles in. And another way to do this is just to bend your elbow just a little bit as you lift up. So just try a few more like that. That's it. And you don't have to lift your shoulders quite so high. So just relax the shoulders down and just bend the elbow. That's it. Good. So all the while keeping the neck nice and long, thinking about looking down at the floor, drawing the shoulder blades back and down, and you can relax it there. That's good. Okay. So if you want to sit back now we're going to do some seated exercise, and we're going to focus on the pelvic floor muscles. But what I also want to go through when we do this is focusing on correct seated posture. And often when we're sitting, particularly when we're feeding, we're often rounding the back. Now I'm going to pick Gracie up here, and if George is happy, you don't have to pick him up, it's entirely up to you. But when you're feeding, it's very tempting to kind of bring your body down towards your baby, but what you actually need to do is to lift your baby up to you. And with smaller babies like Gracie, that's really important. The other thing that you might want to do is to put a pillow underneath you so that you're actually nice and supported and you're not actually having, oh, well done, George, that was very good. You're not having to actually carry and support with your arms. Having said that, it's very good for your arm muscles. But what you need to be doing is drawing your shoulder blades back and down. Okay, so your posture, you should have those same small curves in your back, little curve in your lower back here, and where you can, this is really hard because you're constantly looking down at your baby. It's a natural instinctive thing to do, but this does place quite a bit of strain on the neck. So where you can, bring your chin back, okay, and try and look at your TV screen now and try and keep the back of the neck nice and long, okay? Now while you're sitting feeding, you can do some pelvic floor exercises. So we're gonna go through those now. So I want you to imagine your pelvic floor as the base of your pelvis, and think of it as the bottom of a bucket. Okay, and it's like a trampoline on the base of a bucket, okay? And you're going to try and lift that pelvic floor up. So think of drawing the sides of the pelvic floor up. So if you think of 2 points of the pelvic floor as the pubic bone and the tailbone, so you've got the pubic bone at the front and your tailbone at the back. Imagine you were trying to draw those 2 points together and pull them up inside you. So lifting that pelvic floor up. Now when you do that, it kind of makes you want to sit up tall, doesn't it? So if you want to think about holding your back up nice and tall as you do that, pull the pelvic floor up, and your tummy should come in a little bit at the same time, and that's fine. Still focus on your pelvic floor, but allow it to come up. Now let the pelvic floor go, but don't let your posture go. Keep seated nice and tall. Then again, pull the pelvic floor up again, and then slowly let it go. And that's the timing. Pull up, lift, and slowly let it go. Now, if your baby is quite young, you might find this really difficult to do. But the more you do it, the more you can feel it, and the better it will become. So you just got to keep on trying. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Well done. Okay, so keep pulling up and letting it go. Now the magic number for these is 10. So I want you to carry on doing this. Keep working on your posture. Keep sitting up nice and tall. Keep drawing your shoulder blades back and down. Keep lifting that pelvic floor. Imagine it's like a purse string being drawn up and pulled up inside you. Okay. So if you think of that pelvic floor as the base of that bucket, and it's like a trampoline, it's kind of springy. What you don't want is a saggy trampoline. You want to keep pulling it up and drawing the inside up inside. So you should have been able to do 10 there. We're now going to try some more. You're chatting, George. It's a lovely sound. Yeah. What we're going to try and do now is some quick firing pelvic floor exercises. So now what I want you to do is just flick your pelvic floor on and let it go. Flick your pelvic floor on and let it go. Flick your pelvic floor on and let it go. And keep flicking it on and letting it go. And this is the quick response. And this is very hard to do postnatally. When you were pregnant, you may have found this easier, especially if it's your first baby, because the response of the muscle tends to be quite heightened. But once you've had your baby, stress of the pelvic floor, this is hard to do. So try and flick that pelvic floor on and let it go. It's like flicking a light switch on and off. Flick it on and let it go. How's that feeling, Alison? Okay?
That's fine, yeah.
You feel that one? That's good. Now the magic number again is 10. You're trying to do a minimum of 10 of these. Now you can do these anytime, anywhere. You don't have to wait to turn on your TV and turn your DVD on to do these exercises. And I'd actually recommend you try and remember to do them at least 3 times a day. And feeding is the optimal time to do that, because you're going to be feeding your baby at least 3 times a day, if not more. So every time you feed, remind yourself, do your pelvic floors. Now we're going to do one more set. And this set is to work up, imagining your pelvic floor is a lift going up 5 floors. Now take a breath, inhale. As you exhale, just slowly lift the pelvic floor up as if it was a lift going up inside you 5 floors, and then slowly let it release and come down. So you're going to come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as hard as you can go, and then slowly let it release. Now all the while you're doing this, you're holding your back up nice and tall. Keep lifting yourself up nice and tall. You may find your back muscles are going to start to ache a little bit now as you do that. That's the muscles working, that's fine. We are going to release and stretch them in a little bit. And again, lift up, pull up first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and let it release and come back down. And again, pull up first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and slowly release and let it come back down. How are you doing, George? So I think we're going to put our babies down now, because I think Grace has already fallen asleep. I don't know how George is feeling, but we're going to put them down for this last little exercise, which is one that's actually quite nice to do with your hands free, but you can still do it with your baby in your hands. And it's a really important stretch for the neck. And it's a lot to do with that looking down at your baby constantly. We strain the neck quite a lot. So what I want you to do is continue to sit up nice and tall. And then I'd like you to take your left hand and place it onto your right collarbone. That's it. So just pressing down. Actually, Alison, if you go with the other hand, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what I'd like you to do is press your shoulder down. Press the shoulder down. And then gently take your head over to your ear. Okay, so you feel a stretch coming all the way down that right side. See, we're doing it on the left, but you're doing it on your right. feeling that stretch. Now try and draw your shoulder blade back and down as you do that, and you should just feel a nice stretch coming down through the neck area here. Then release it, and then change sides. So you're just going to press the shoulder down, and then gently take your head over to the side, just stretching through that neck area. And release it. Okay, now we're just going to take our heads over to one side. So we're going to look over our left shoulder, you're going to look over your right shoulder, and then look over the other shoulder. And then just as a final movement, I want you to bring your chin in, and it's as if you're going to give yourself a double chin. Yeah, you're going to bring your chin back in without looking down, and this helps to again establish a good line with the neck, and just can help release any tension created where you've looked down. Holding that position there.